We have a pretty clear idea now of what the next Toyota RAV4 is going to look like because of some leaked photos and also some renderings from Car Scoops. I'm going to show you all of this in this video. When it comes to the powertrain, it's probably going to be more like a lifted Camry. That is what this article says. So we're going to jump into Photoshop here. I'm going to let you know what I think about this design, this hammerhead style front end that Toyota has on pretty much every single vehicle these days. The bumper headlights as well. But before jumping here to Photoshop, let's have a look at this article from Car Scoops and let's see what is going on with the new 2026, I do believe, Toyota RAV4. So Toyota's all-new RAV4 is coming sooner than you think. The 5th generation RAV4 is making way for a new model, though it might not be as fresh as Toyota would like you to believe. They take a lot of it's built on the same platform as the old one. You have the powertrains from the Camry. This is the new interior as well. I wanted to show you this as well. So let's pop this into Photoshop. It does look pretty high. I mean, a little bit more high-end than what we have right now. But we also have a bunch of screens, as you can see. So the new RAV4 is expected to ride on the same platform. The hybrid and plug-in hybrid variants will return with power and efficiency boost. So you get probably better fuel economy and more power than what we have right now. I'm not so sure about that. We're going to have to wait and see. Interior upgrades will include higher quality materials and a larger infotainment screen. You can see that right here. Very, very boxy looking design. Look at the integration of the gauge cluster here. It looks to be just a single screen behind the steering wheel. It does not have a cap for it. We're moving into dual screens in every single vehicle. The full reveal is locked in for May 21st, but in the meantime, the teaser train has left the station. Toyota's North American team played it safe, releasing just 3 exterior shots of the SUV driving on a country road, suburban streets, and a snow-covered trail. You can see those right here. We can have a look at those. It's only a top view. You can see the hammerhead design still in this, in these photos here. You can see sort of what the front end, the top half of the front end is going to look like. And you also have the two-tone roof here, the blacked out roof. The interior, we have a new gear selector right next to the dual cup holders. This area looks pretty clean to me. Very small little gear selector. And those are the only images we have right now. So it's clear that this cabin styling leans more Prius than Camry. The standout feature include a freestanding digital instrument cluster and a large infotainment screen sitting high on the center console right here. I do think it sits maybe a little bit too high. It sticks up a little bit too much for my taste. There is also a peak at the chunky new center console with what looks like a redesigned gear lever. Now, Toyota's wildly popular RAV4 continues to dominate sales charts, having ended the Ford F-150's reign as America's best-selling vehicle in 2024. That is a huge deal because as long as I can remember, the F-150 has been the best-selling vehicle for a very long time here in the US, and now in 2024 the RAV4 actually surpassed the F-150, which is crazy to think about. In the process, printing money for the Japanese automaker, of course. It's good that Toyota has a model like this that's selling like crazy. That means that hopefully they have the funds to create a little bit more exciting vehicles, maybe the next generation Supra or something like that, without having to take half of the car from BMW. Much like the latest Camry, the new model is expected to retain the existing platform and powertrains. While the design gets a sleek new polish, there are clear signs that this isn't an all-new model in the traditional sense, which is interesting to think about because this has been out. The RAV4 came out in 2019, so it's starting to get up there in age, but at the same time, you know, Toyota does not want to mess this up. They can't afford to mess this up, so they want to keep what's working. I mean, why change something that is working so well? I get the idea behind it. So with the current 5th generation RAV4 introduced in 2018, not 19, at the New York Auto Show, it stood out with the sharper and more aggressive styling, a clear departure from the softer designs of its immediate predecessors. Even today, it still looks fresh. I agree with that. It does have a very fresh design. If we were to, for example, update the headlights and the taillights, which is essentially what we're going to do with the new RAV4, I think it's going to be very, the proportion is going to look almost pretty much identical to the current one. So for 2026, the design remains familiar, but with subtle aerodynamics tweaks here and there. You do have the wraparound DRLs with hammerhead inner sections and a honeycomb grille. We expect a few differences from our preliminary illustration that's based on prototypes spied in Japan. You can see those right here. We have a white one. Then you have a little bit of a different design for the lower section in this area with the red one. If I had to pick one of these, I'm going to go for the red one up here. I do like the more fluid design that we have in the side view. We're going to have a look at these in detail in just a minute in Photoshop, of course. From the side, the RAV4 maintains its recognizable silhouette. You don't want to mess anything up that identifies a RAV4 as a RAV4. So they're keeping the silhouette intact. You also have the two-tone option and the bold contrasting lower cladding as well. The glasshouse and pillar layout are nearly identical to the current model. You can see that on the spy photos. Around the back, you'll likely see a full-width LED taillight cluster paired with squared-off lower cladding, meaning that we're most likely going to have a full light bar for the RAV4. I think that trend is, I don't know how long it's going to continue for, but it's still going strong, I guess. And to stay competitive, Toyota may tap into its off-road expertise, introducing a rugged TRD Pro trim similar to what's offered in the latest 4Runner. Now, you do have a TRD Off-Road, which I actually reviewed about maybe a year ago or so for the RAV4, and I think that is the best one to get, because as always, if you have a crossover like this that sits high off the ground, you first of all want to have all-wheel drive at least, but then you want to have as many off-road functions or features as possible. To me, it just makes sense. Otherwise, what's the point of having a higher riding vehicle like this? So the TRD off-road RAV4 is definitely the one that I personally would go with. The vehicle in question here that we see in this image is in fact the successor to a Toyota Wildlander, which is a China-only version of the RAV4. So this gives us a clear view of what the next RAV4 is going to look like, because if you look down here, you do have some subtle changes for example, for the Wildlander that we have right now in China. And if you compare this to the current RAV4 down here, the US spec RAV4 is a lot more chiseled. I honestly prefer the Wildlander in this case, because this has a much more automotive design to it, a lot more fluid design. Look at the headlight unit here, looks way more fluid than what we have here. Very sharp and chiseled design all around. Even though it's not a bad looking design, the RAV4, I definitely prefer the Wildlander here. So the next RAV4 is definitely going to look very, very close to this, if not identical to this image that we see from Japan, the leaked image. So for the tech, it's going to support Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, Amazon Alexa. You also have voice recognition control, and you have premium touches such as head-up display, panoramic sunroof, ambient lighting as well. Wireless charging pad is going to be options for the new RAV4. Here we see some spy photos. You can see the greenhouse here looking pretty much identical to what we have in the current RAV4. We have some plastic trim piece in the rear end with the spoiler up top. Looks like we have the separation here for the black roof and the body color below this line. We can barely see it, but there's definitely a trim piece here, probably going to be silver or black or something like that. And in the front end, you see these hammerhead designs, which thankfully looks like we do have the headlight unit up top, so it's not going to sit down here in the bumper. It actually sits in between the DRLs, which is great to see. I'm getting tired of seeing bumper headlights on every single new model. I think it's played out, and I want to see going back to regular position for the headlights. You can clearly see that here. You have the main headlight unit up here. No lighting in the lower section. I don't even think we have a fog light in this area. And in the rear end, we do have the wiper not hidden underneath the spoiler, which is totally fine for this price range, I would say. So the 2026 model could go hybrid only, featuring a powertrain similar to the latest Camry. The new RAV4 may feature a 2.5-liter four-cylinder paired with two electric motors in front-wheel drive form, producing about 225 horsepower. The all-wheel drive variant will add a rear-mounted motor, bumping the power up to 232 horsepower. Not a lot of additional horsepower with an extra e-motor. You only get 7 more horses for the all-wheel drive version. I wish it could be about 250, 260 horsepower, something like that. Pricing is obviously expected to stay very affordable, because this is the main thing about the RAV4. It's selling better than an F-150, and you don't want to make too big of a tweaks to this formula that Toyota has with the RAV4. So they're probably going to stay in the low $30,000 range, which is great to see as well. Learn design sketching online with me. My online class is now only $47. If you have any desire to pick up the skill of sketching products using simple tools such as just a big pen and some cheap print paper, this is something you want to check out. Now, over the years, I've taught over thousands of students from all around the world how to sketch cars and products using my simple sketching techniques, and most of them have seen amazing results from my classes. Analog Designer Pro Pack is the full bundle of all my classes I've released over the years, and it's yours for just $47. You also have a lifetime access to all the videos. Check out everything that's included and see what my students have to say in the link in the description, or simply visit analogdesignerpropack.com. Now, jumping into Photoshop here, let me show you what all these pictures are all about. So up top, we do have the current one. Came out in 2018, and as you can see, it still looks pretty fresh, as they said in the article. It feels, I mean, we see these every single time we go outside. There is always a couple RAV4s driving around, and I'm not surprised by that, since it is America's best-selling vehicle. Now, we have a bunch of chamfers here. We have this section going in, creating a housing for the fog light down there. We have this big grill in the lower section, almost bigger than the actual main grill that sits up top here. It looks aggressive because you can see all these angles pointing downwards, creating this drag down and almost frowning looking design in the front end. Looks pretty clean to me, and as I said, if we were to just update these features, the headlight for example, and also the integration of the logo starting to look a little dated, if we updated those things, it would still be a pretty, you know, modern looking design. Now, looking at the spy photo, you can see, to me, what I see, the first thing I see is how it looks more stately in the front end. It has a more upright, boxy design in the front end. You can see the hammerhead design for the headlight unit here. You have the main headlight sitting in here with the DRLs going something like this. I'm going to show you the renderings in a minute here. And you have a much more upright front end. And I do like this design. Looks like we have a muzzle over the rear axle as well. We have this piece, triangular piece going down, and probably have some line here that goes into this muzzle. The greenhouse looks pretty much identical to the current RAV4. I don't see any major changes to the greenhouse design. They don't necessarily need to change it. I mean, it's a greenhouse. If it works, it works. You know, it's gonna save them a lot of money if they can still use the same tools as they've been using since 2018 in some parts, and I think they're gonna be using that for the greenhouse area up top, as you can see with the spy photos. We have the main grille. I do believe the main grille is still gonna be all the way down here. We have some honeycomb design for the grille in the center portion. I think the logo is probably gonna be up here somewhere. The wheel design is probably just a prototype wheels. Now, looking at the Wild Lander, or whatever it was called, the Japanese version of the RAV4. And here you can see just how much more upright the front end is compared to the current RAV4. So I think the new RAV4 is actually going to be a very good looking machine and have this robotic look in the front end. We have this text that's covering the headlight unit, but I do believe the headlight unit is obviously going to sit here if you base it on the spy photos. And if we see, looking at this area down here, if we look at the spy photos, we can maybe make out that there is one line here that I can see. This black area and this area, I'm not sure what that is, but you can see that we do have the main grille being located right here in the lower section, exactly like we have in this leaked image. So I honestly believe that this is, in fact, going to be the new RAV4. This is the design of the new RAV4. We're going to have to see in about a couple of weeks' time. Now, here are some renderings from Car Scoops. I don't think we're going to have this front end, even though it looks great, this rendering, because I do love this line, how high up it sits, creating a much more sporty look than what we have in the current one. I like the muscle that we have going on there. The greenhouse, again, coming back from the current version. But the front end looks a little too soft or too organic for me, even though, as I said, I prefer if we had this type of design instead of this more robotic, static looking design that we have in the spy photos and also in this leaked image here. We have the interior pictures as well, and this is probably where I'm getting a little bit worried that we're gonna lose all the manual, the analog feel that we have for the interiors. Probably, I would guess so, because this looks to be a huge infotainment screen. Maybe not the same size as we have in the Tacoma and the 4Runner, the 14-inch. This looks to be maybe a little bit smaller than that. We have a big gauge cluster here as well that unfortunately does not have a nice housing to it. As you can see, we also have the optional head-up display unit located right there. You can see just how boxy everything became and static. A lot of lines, a lot of big chamfers, and a lot of horizontal and vertical elements in the interior. That goes for the steering wheel as well. The center portion of the steering wheel is basically just a rectangle like this with some buttons here on each side of it.